So let's get into the fact that Ronald Acuña Jr. rumors surfaced over the last week that Alex Anthopoulos was considering moving him. Now, this all surfaced from friend of the show, Jim Riley from Ballcap Sports. Now, a little story about Jim here. When we were just babies in the podcast world, this was 2 years ago. We probably had 30 subscribers on YouTube. Jim had about 2,000 subscribers and had yet to flip to Major League Baseball as a under the full umbrella, right? He was more of just a Blue Jays podcast, very much like we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he brought us on the show to talk some Blue Jays and baseball. Really, really good dude. And I know last year in the spring, now Jim has some sources. Jim isn't a guy who you go on his Twitter. He's not constantly doing shit like this. This isn't his MO to just put out rumors for the sake of putting out rumors. So I do truly believe that there is someone within the Atlanta Braves organization that mentioned a truth to him, which is that Anthopoulos possibly could move Acuña. Listen, this isn't going to happen. I don't think that Jim thought this was going to happen. And I think I haven't talked to him since he tweeted this stuff, but I think if Jim knew the backlash from Braves fans that he would have got for tweeting this, he may have held on to this information.
Or it's no such thing as bad publicity.
Exactly.
Like, if it drives traffic, it drives traffic. And who knows? Maybe this is good for him. I hope it is. But
more or less, what he said is that Anthopoulos is a creative general manager, always has been. He's always looking to fill holes within the organization in unique ways that can be long-term fixes. We watched him do this with letting Freddie Freeman walk in free agency, go to the Los Angeles Dodgers, and then make a blockbuster trade with the Oakland Athletics to bring in Matt Olson, which, by the way, Jim from Ballcap Sports was first on, or right there in the mix of it, to let people know. Like he floated that rumor a week before it happened from the same source he says he had with this Acuña.
All
irrelevant. Irrelevant.
I came on and did a quick video after this came out because it was just driving me nuts. You and I know, both wanted to talk about it, but scheduling didn't quite work out. But I had to get something out. And I come down to this. I'll give Jim the benefit of the doubt as a friend. He's not a skeezy guy just for the clicks.
Yeah.
I do think he genuinely thinks he has a source that he believes. And if this is a source who gave him the Matt Olson deal or whatever, I'm still in the camp of being a skeptic and that even a blind monkey finds a banana every once in a while. So in the age that we live in, anybody can make 100 predictions, send one out to 100 different podcasters or influencers, whatever title you want to give them, hit on one of them.
Yeah.
And now you've got one guy who thinks you're a reliable source.
That's right.
Right? Like I could do the same thing and I only need one guy to be right with. It's the same with gamblers, right? Like gamblers that, at the start of the season, they make their picks and it's like these bold upset underdogs and they, they're just sending them out to everybody. They're right on one of them and then they get a guy to buy into that. Oh, this guy knows something that they don't, but they don't see the 99 that he got wrong on the same day that he sent to everyone else. So I'm a skeptic of Jim's source, but not of Jim himself.
So,
that
Adam,
being said, let's dig into this. Ronald
I was just
Acuña
going to
trade.
say, let's play the game then. Let's play the game. Let's act like there is some validity to this. Why would they move Acuña?
I couldn't come up with a good reason.
I really don't have a very good reason either.
It made no sense to me. One thing I've read since then is that he is a possible holdout candidate if he's frustrated with his contract and thinks that he does deserve more given what he has accomplished since signing the contract. Good luck with that if that's the case. Like, he's got what, 6 years
Contract's a
left
contract.
on
There's
that
nothing he
deal?
can do. Yeah, there's nothing he can do. Right?
So,
Like he can be as upset. He can fire his agent. He can. I
and if
mean,
that's really the case, look, if that's the case, because here's the crutch of this speculation. Ronald Acuña Jr. to the, I think the names mentioned were the Orioles, Mariners, and the Blue Jays, right? But let's just go with the Blue Jays for argument's sake. The return on that trade would have to be massive because of the team friendly
yes,
contract, right?
yes.
So there is going to be a Bo Bichette caliber guy and or a Alek Manoah caliber guy and or a top tier prospect, right? This is, look at what we just saw Juan Soto get dealt for.
Mm-hmm.
But Juan Soto is going to be a free agent in the next 2 years.
Yes, sir.
With Ronald
2028,
Acuna Jr. being locked up at a very team friendly $10 million a year, what a bargain for 6 years.
2028.
That is, even if Juan Soto is better than Ronald Acuna Jr., and there's an argument to be made that he's not, that team friendly deal really tips the scales of the trade value, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if the whole reason for the trade is that Ronald Acuna Jr. is unhappy with his deal and wants to renegotiate terms, how do two sides come together on what is like a fair price tag for that trade? Like, I'm not giving up nearly as much if I'm going to have to re-sign or rework his contract as soon as he gets here.
I mean, it's an impossibility. No one's going to do that. Like
It's
it
way
is
too.
what it is.
It's yeah.
It is what it is. So, are there other reasons? Possibly. He has struggled to stay on the field. It could be a health issue. Okay. He wasn't involved with the 2021 World Series. He was not on the field as the Blue Jays, or sorry, the Braves won that World Series, right?
Mm-hmm.
He badmouthed Freddie Freeman after he left the team. Like, I don't know. I'm grasping at straws here. I
I know.
don't.
I can't come up with it either. Like, whether he's unhappy with his contract or whether it's a bad clubhouse fit. Again, all of the reasons why it's like trading with the Rays.
Mhm.
If they want to get rid of a guy, that is, to me, is enough reason that I don't want him. Right? If you're telling me that Ronald Acuna is unhappy for whatever reason, that's enough reason for me to be like, well, maybe not that I don't want him, but that like we can't just make a trade on face value.
Mhm.
That if there's contract unhappiness or there's like a chemistry issue in the clubhouse, that's a real risk to bring into the Blue Jays and just go, well, he didn't work out with the Braves, but maybe he gets along better with Vladdy and Danny Jansen. And it's just,
Now,
it's,
the other side is that the Braves do have a crowded outfield currently.
mm-hmm.
They're not going to be able to move Marcell Ozuna, despite Braves fans screaming from the top of the frickin' world and mountaintops that this is exactly the move they need to do. How are you going to do that? Who's going to take him? They do need a shortstop currently if they're not going to be able to re-sign Dansby Swanson. And we have watched Alex Anthopoulos in the past lock up these players long-term before they go to free agency. The one example that we have of a guy actually going to free agency, he's playing for the Los Angeles Dodgers right now. So maybe Dansby's gone. And maybe at this point, Anthopoulos is looking around the major league landscape of shortstops. He knows possibly, there have been rumors that Bo Bichette isn't going to re-sign at the end of his, or when his service time is up here and he becomes a free agent in 2026. There is still, 3 more seasons of Bo Bichette.
I love the pushback that you're given, and that makes sense. But here's the other pushback is that if the reason for getting rid of Acuna Jr. is he's unhappy with his contract, well, how happy is Bo Bichette with his contract?
I mean, listen, every player needs to put in their service time to become a free agent. It's just the way the game goes. You can be bitter and upset all you'd like. It's not going to do you any good.
Right, but the Braves are not going to give Bo Bichette $200 million, and that's
Well,
what
this
Bo
is the
Bichette and that's what Bo Bichette thinks he's worth. That's why he's
and
unhappy right now.
and this is where maybe Alex Anthopoulos thinks that he can convince, maybe he looks at Bo Bichette and he's like, Bo is from an American family, Dante is red, white, and blue all along, right? Played with Colorado. Maybe he feels that on American soil, he can convince Bo that the Braves organization is the way to go.
That's a heck of a gamble. That's a heck of a maybe.
The
I
Blue
don't
Jays
know,
did it with
man. I
Jose
think
Barrios. I mean, teams
okay,
make these bets. Teams make
right, right,
these
right. I don't think the Blue Jays or sorry, I think the Blue Jays and the Braves are playing with two different sets of rules. And
100%.
I don't think Alex Anthopoulos is going to go after a shortstop who has shown that much of a ceiling while being that close to free agency. Now, if this speculation was that there is a deal being worked on to send him to Tampa Bay for Wander Franco, I would be a lot more believable of that, right? Because he's already got a little bit of a team friendly deal there with Tampa Bay. Or someone that is like a rookie, still 6 years away. We could go get this guy and offer him what we're giving Ronald Acuña Jr. right now. I don't buy it for a second, man. I don't buy it for a second. It doesn't make sense for too many reasons.
I agree. And I mean, just to reiterate this, like, from a Jays standpoint, yeah, Acuna can play some center field. It would move Springer to right. He's another righty bat. With the skill Acuna has, handedness, who gives a shit?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just with you, man. There's just like, how does this work? Like, how does this benefit both teams? And this idea from Braves fans that Manoah would need to be in the deal with Bichette, like, that's not happening.
Manoah's a
It's not happening.
non-starter. That's a deal breaker before you even get the phone answered, right? Like, there's no way the Blue Jays are trading Alek Manoah right now, especially with the money that they have invested in pitchers. We've spent dozens of minutes, which is actually a lot of time, talking about the financial situation and the money the Blue Jays have invested in starting pitching. And the saving grace there has been Alek Manoah playing at such an elite level for free. So we're not getting rid of Alek Manoah anytime soon. I would say he's the most untouchable guy on our team, to be honest.
And for the reasons you just mentioned, I actually kind of feel like the number one prospect for this Blue Jays team, Ricky Tiedemann, is almost untouchable as well. I'm not saying he is.
Mm-hmm.
I think there are scenarios out there in which we could see Ricky Tiedemann moved. But the cost of surety of him is sure attractive. And listen, I know that a prospect is a prospect until he proves otherwise. But boy, oh boy, with the amount of money that they currently have invested in Jose Barrios, Kevin Gausman, and Yusei Kikuchi.
Not to mention Ryu.
Yeah, like, there's no way. You need young, affordable arms. You need young, affordable players to make up for the contracts of a George Springer, to make up for the contracts of a Kevin Gausman, right? Like, these $100 million contracts that the Blue Jays are throwing around are only sustainable because of the young influx of talent that they currently have.
Why we're able to give George Springer $150 million is because we've got a Gold Glove first baseman playing for free as well.
$8 million. Yeah, exactly. Which, by the way, arbitration eligible. Vladdy's ARB eligible again this year, and he's probably going to make a lot closer to 15 million this year, somewhere between 12 and 15. But We really appreciate all of you within the walk-off community. This thing continues to grow and become an animal of its own. It's a little bit overwhelming, but honestly, we love talking Blue Jays baseball and all the interaction that you folks are involved with us. Thank you so much. Discord, feel free to join it. That is always free. The show, or the link is in the show notes. You can follow us on Twitter at Walk Off Podcast, on Instagram, the Walk Off Podcast. And if you are watching on YouTube currently and you're not subscribed, we'd really appreciate if you hit that subscribe button. All the best, everybody. Cheers.